I get a phone call, and it's Kyle, and he goes, "Do you want the good news first or the bad news?" I go, "Give me the bad news, get it over with." And he goes, "You didn't make the team." And I was like, "You better give me that good news right now." He goes, "You didn't make the team, but the coaching staff, that they're going to give you a 1-week tryout to prove to the coaches I was going to take on the practice squad." And at the end of the week, I'm walking into the locker room, and did I make the team? Did I not? I don't know. And all of a sudden, I hear the grunting of Coach Orgeron running behind me, and he puts his arm around me, and he goes, "Richie, I'm going to keep you on this team."
You're listening to the Football Scholarship Podcast, the playbook for parents and athletes who want to secure the best football scholarships possible. From securing a D1 football scholarship in the SEC at Ole Miss at just 5'7", 150 pounds, myself, to helping 83% of the athletes I mentor achieve football scholarship offers and 42% going Division I, I've learned countless lessons that I'll be sharing right here with you. Join me and my co-host Brian Overton, who has 15 years of D1 college football recruiting experience, as we interview top experts, successful athletes, and discuss current recruiting trends. Together, we'll help you navigate the recruiting process so you too can achieve your dream of running out of that tunnel in front of 100,000 screaming fans.
So tell us about the journey. That's what I really want to hear right out of the gate. What was it like along the way throughout high school, getting that off? Well, you didn't get an offer, right? You were a walk-on, actually.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
was it like not getting the offer and
Yeah.
then walking on?
So in high school, I mean, obviously, being 5'7", 155 pounds in high school, big opportunities weren't just flying at me. And one thing I did in high school, everything I teach athletes today is all based on the mistakes and the things that I didn't do properly when I was going through the process. Like, one thing I did do was when I was in high school, I spent thousands of dollars sending my highlight video in the mail. That's what you did then, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I sent it to all these schools, all the wrong schools, all the wrong coaches, all the wrong departments, right? Trying to get recruited, trying to get picked up. And ultimately, I ended up signing with a small school. It's a Division I AA program. They don't even exist anymore, in Jacksonville, Florida. And went there for a year. And I actually got cut after my first year there. Was on the scout team, and it just wasn't a good fit at all. But I got cut. Like, the coach that recruited me got fired, and new head coach came in, took a look at me, and was like, "You're not on this team." So he literally cut me. And one of the things I teach athletes today is recruiting is all about relationships, and you've got to build relationships with college coaches. And a relationship with a coach that I built from when I was 12 years old all the way until I was 19 landed me with a coach that I knew who was an intern at Ole Miss. Like, I called all 119 Division I schools at the time, all the recruiting coordinators, and I was just calling. And the calls were really short. They would ask me what my height and weight was, and that was the end of the phone call. I drove all the way down to FIU, Florida International University. They said they would have a meeting with me. I showed there, and the coach no-showed on me and wouldn't meet with me. So, I did all the calls and all that. And eventually, because of that, I did so many of these calls, I hit with a coach that that I knew from when I was 12 that got an internship at Ole Miss. And I was like, "Kyle?" And I remembered him. And so, he had known me through high school, through little league, well, the end of my little league through high school. And essentially, Coach Ed Orgeron was the head coach at Ole Miss at the time. And he reached out to him and just said, "Hey, like, this kid will never play here at Ole Miss, but he'll make the players around him better. He's a leader. He's a hard worker, character guy." And so Orgeron decided to give me literally a one-hour tryout, and moved from South Florida all the way up to Oxford, Mississippi. Didn't know anybody except for Kyle in the whole state, and went there for this one-hour tryout. And I leave the tryout, and I'm like, "Okay, did I make the team? Did I not make the team? I think I did good." And I'm just waiting for the phone call. And eventually I get a phone call, and it's Kyle. And he goes, "Do you want the good news first or the bad news?" So just, give me
I
the
want
bad.
all the good news. That's all I
Yeah,
want.
well, I should have said that, but I go, "Give me the bad news, get it over with." And he goes, "You didn't make the team." And I was like, "You better give me that good news right now." He goes, "You didn't make the team, but the coaching staff, that they're going to give you basically a 1 week tryout to prove to the coaches that I could take the hits that I was going to take on the practice squad." So went into the locker room. Everyone else had this big plated locker, but me, I had this piece of tape with my name written on it and some oversized pads. And, I'm sure we'll talk about next play, but, you know, I, I had this motto from this little league coach, and I could tell that story later, but essentially it was always next play, one play at a time. And my next play at that moment was to walk through the tunnel outside of the field and do great at warmups. And then my next play was to
Mhm.
do great in on the scout team during the 1-on-1s, or during the scout team on the 7-on-7s and the scout team. It was just, what's the next, just make the next catch, make the next play. And
Yep.
that was always my motto. And, at the end of the week, I'm walking into the locker room and did I make the team? Did I not? I don't know. And all of a sudden I hear the grunting of Coach Orgeron running behind me. If you don't know him, he won that national championship at LSU, and he's a funny guy. I mean, but he's got this crazy grunty voice, and I just
Mhm.
hear him running behind me, and he puts his arm around me, and he goes, he goes, "Richie, I'm going to keep you on this team." And I was like, "Awesome. Why?" Oh, was I a good player? He's like, "No, not because you're a good player." But he goes, "Because you pissed my defensive line off." And because of that, on the scout team, I made the D line work hard, and he said, "I want to keep you around." So, I can keep telling the story, but
Yeah.
that's essentially how I ended up making the team as a walk on.
Yeah.
Um, and then, I could tell the rest of the story over the 4 years from there. But that
Yeah.
was the initial getting from high school to Ole Miss.
Yeah. So a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think young and old, right? If you're in this hunt to play football at a high level, you know, be respectful to your coaches, connect to your coaches, establish a relationship. Don't just look at them as this is the guy or gal in front of me for this year, right? Like there's opportunity to stay connected as time goes on. That's a really great lesson to take away just in life in general, right? Just be connected to people, be interested in people. What was it like going through that tunnel? Was that
Oh,
like a special moment for you?
yeah. I mean, it didn't happen my first year, right? Like I it took me a couple of years, right? But I would say, especially going like my senior year, I got to run out of the tunnel of every game. I played in every game. And running out of the tunnel at Alabama, I got to run out of the tunnel at LSU. I mean, obviously at Ole Miss is amazing because that's our home, but this was in my opinion, the greatest league in the land, right?
Mhm.
Um, and Auburn, and it's unreal. It's an unreal experience. You can't, I don't, it's tough to describe, right? It's a,
Probably an
it,
energy unlike anything else.
yeah. And all the players that I work with, they all, I want that for them. I know what it feels like at Jacksonville to have no tunnel, no stadium, be treated like crap. And then I also know what it feels like to run out of the tunnel at LSU and Alabama, and be a part of an atmosphere where it's just so electric. It's something that I'll never forget, right? And will live with me forever. And I want that for kids that are willing to do the work and that want it really bad too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's your business now is next play. And that's helping high school athletes get college scholarships, get college offers to play football. And in telling the story to the run up of playing at Ole Miss, you shared your mantra, your motto, that next play, that next thing. Such an appropriate lesson. I think, especially for today's youth, and maybe you could speak to this. I think social media has shown all the glitz, all the glamour of most everything in life, not just football. But you got to do the work, right? You got to do the. You said, I think the very first thing you said in the locker room is, "Okay, there's my locker. It's a nameplate. It's not the nice nameplate, but it's a nameplate. I'm here, I'm present. Now, what's the next thing? What's that next play? I think you said warm ups. And that was your sole focus, right? To just do that very next thing. I'm thinking this is what you teach to the very best of your ability. I'll turn it over to you of how you help people at next play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as far as, there's a couple questions there. So, as far as like the doing of the work, yeah. I mean, essentially, college football recruiting is marketing and it's sales. And what I teach athletes is to become the business owner that they need to be in order to not only earn NIL revenue, and now schools are paying athletes, but also to understand the positioning of who they are, where they are, and what they need to do to get to the next level. So as teaching young 15, 16, 17-year-old kids that they are a business owner, they're the business, and every business, so this is going to be good for entrepreneurs, is every business has really three main core components, right? You have marketing, sales, operations. You can add finance and all that. But as an athlete, you have marketing, sales, and you're the operations. You are the fulfillment. And so most athletes, they spend all of their time in the weight room, on the football field, and they have all this confidence when they're on the field. They have all this confidence in the weight room. You know, they do great with the product, with the fulfillment, and they spend all their time there. But just like any other business, if you spend all your time, this is the baker. I use this example all the time. The baker, who's an amazing baker, and they're like, oh, I'm going to start this business because I'm a great baker. And then, nobody knows that they're a good baker. So,
meanwhile, Crumble Cookies is out there with a full-on machine putting cookie stores in every strip mall across the nation. Yeah.
Correct. So great. So just being a great athlete, unless you're in the top ESPN 300, top 247 sports, which is 0.0000001% of the 1.1 million high school football players, I'm sorry if you're listening to this, you're a parent, the odds of your son being in the top 300 are insanely slim. And there's only about 600, 700 scholarships that go to, Division I every year. So we're talking such an insanely small number. So what does that mean for you? That means that you have to become great at marketing yourself, great at selling yourself, great at confidently communicating and building relationships with college coaches. And what I've done is systemize that process of marketing yourself, of making sure you're targeting the right schools, of making sure those schools that you're targeting, you're doing outreach properly to find the right coaches, and then of those right coaches to tell your story, to pitch yourself, to sell yourself essentially over time and build a relationship with that coach where they can move to offer you, whether that's a scholarship or a walk-on opportunity. The way that we have athletes structure their, 60 schools that they're targeting is by percentage of where they're going to spend their time, of, potential walk-on to getting an offer to, the tough offers and the easy offers, right? So where are they spending their time? And so, yeah, I'm just looking at these pictures, but that's essentially what we teach them. Now, where does next play fit into this, right? Which is focusing on one play at a time. I think that was your last question. So, I had a coach and I was playing Little League and I really struggled, and, it was unfortunate, but my parents got divorced. I failed 5th grade. It was boom, boom. And the only thing I had that I loved to do was play football. And I really struggled at that. I played receiver, and as a receiver, I struggled at catching the ball, and you got to be able to catch the ball. And one day, this coach, his name is Mike Jallad, and he came up to me one day after I dropped another pass, and he said, Richie, what are you thinking about when the ball is in the air? And I was like, oh, I'm thinking about what's my dad think of me, or what's the friends think of me, or the last time I dropped the pass, or what if I catch the ball and I don't know what to do with it. And he goes, Richie, I've watched you buy new gloves, new cleats, and do all these things. He goes, until you focus on that ball in front of you, you're never gonna catch it. And then he said, what's the most important play now? And he looked at me and I was frustrated, and he nudged me and he goes, the next play. And this is what the next play is made up of. And at the time I was like, okay. And he's like, well, what are you going to do differently this time? Well, I was like, well, I'm going to catch it with my hands instead of letting it get to my body. And he goes, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Well, I'll put my hands up like this. And he grabbed my hands and he goes, no, you're going to put it like that. And then he goes, well, when are you going to do this by? And I was like, oh, well, the next time the ball's in the air. And he took me through this sequence. And all of a sudden I realized, like, wow, maybe the last play didn't matter. Maybe what people think about me didn't matter. Or what's going to happen in the future doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the one play in front of me. And, I was a D and an F student at that point, and everything in my life became next play, the next homework assignment, the next text, the next class, the next, catch, the next run after the catch. Like, everything was just next play. And even on this team, like, we were a really bad team. I think we were 3 or 4 games in, and this coach just started using next play for everything because it worked on me right away. And that became our team motto. And eventually the name was like, hey, the coach would always yell, what's the most important play? And all of us would say next play. And it was just this concept of there is no failure. There's only your next play. And that was that's been the motto of my life. Like, whether it was in high school, whether it was Jacksonville getting cut, whether it was at Ole Miss for 3 years, I'm sure we'll go through that story of getting my, what kicked, it was always, what's the most important play? The next play. And so and then I had my dad, or it was Kyle, or I always had mentors in my life holding me accountable to that next play. And that's what we do with athletes today. Here's a system that you follow. Here are the tools that you use to execute that system. And then my team and I are going to hold you accountable to your next play every single day and every single week. So, we use the process we use is what, how, when, right? Which is what that coach did with me. What are you going to do this time? How are you going to do it? When are you going to do it by?
Yeah.
So
And
whenever we work with that, go ahead.
What was that coach's name again?
Mike Jallad.
Mike Jallad.
Coach
So
Jallad.
kudos to Mike Jallad. Do you still talk to him? Do you still have connection there?
His daughter. I haven't, like, he sees my stuff. We talk every now and then, but it's not like as often as he's an older guy now too.
Yeah, sure, sure. But I mean, that's like, I think the takeaway in this time together is, be that leader for people around you. I mean, this is your business now, right? You're helping your student athletes through the adversity that comes in front of them, the success that comes in front of them, because you can sometimes fumble success. And we'll maybe talk about that too. But like, be that leader that has the opportunity to connect with the people around you. It's so very important, whether you're talking about a youth like you were, Richie, or you're talking about somebody on your team that's just struggling. One of the common themes here is and you had a clash between home and field. You had a clash between school desk and field. You shared it, right? Parents divorcing, failing 5th grade. Leaders, man, there's a clash between work and home. And we got to bring out that you said it, what's the next thing? When are we going to do it? And why are we going to do it? I think I butchered that, but it's your thing, not mine. Right. But as a leader, it's incumbent on us to walk our people, our teammates, our players. We have to be the coach. We have to be the leader. We got to look out for that opportunity to improve. So I love that we got there. So, with Next Play, you bring high school athletes along. We're showing pictures of Rudy Rudiger, who I know does quite a bit of speaking, and know you're connected. You're also connected with a film, correct?
So he had a walk-on movie that came out, man, I don't know, it was 5 years ago or so. And he reached out to me and asked me to be in it. So, they flew me down to Orlando and did the filming for it. And it was cool. It was a great experience. He's a great man. He's a part of what we're doing today. We just had our national conference and he came and spoke, and it's awesome. Like, he believes in what we're doing. He loves it. He's seeing what we're doing with the players, and not just like a high percentage of them getting scholarships, but what's happening to the players themselves, the people that they're becoming in pursuit of this dream of playing college football, of learning how to do outreach, how to sell themselves, how to confidently communicate, how to market themselves. These are all skills that they're going to use for the rest of their lives. And like, I have interviews with all our athletes that are earning scholarships. They're all on my YouTube, and just, you can hear them from when I first met them to what after they earned a scholarship. They're different human beings.
Yeah.
And and again, it's to having a process, having the tools, and the accountability of focusing on your next play. To like hit on your points of the businesses, I mean, I actually work with companies before. I still do, but my focus has become more to athletes. It's the same thing. Okay, so an athlete is a salesperson, they're a business owner, right? And we teach sales leaders how to hold their people accountable using the next play accountability system, which is what I explained, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the corporate side, it's a little different, right? We're reviewing KPIs to determine what their next play is going to be, what, how, when, right? Boom, they go execute it. It's the same thing with athletes, right? Athletes, how many emails did you send? How many DMs? How many calls did you make? How many connects did you have with coaches? What did you say during this conversation with coaches? How many of them moved to meetings? How many of those meetings moved to visits? And how many visits moved to offers, right? They're KPIs. And then we review those and then help prescribe athletes the next play, hold them accountable to it. It's the same thing with businesses. Like
Yeah.
if you're not holding, like every sales team that we come in and work with, their sales managers are good managers. They're terrible coaches and they don't know how to hold people accountable. So this is a system for coaching and accountability, right? So whether you're an athlete or you're a business owner, like, are you holding your people accountable, or and are you using facts to do that, like KPIs, or are you just, you know, letting them do whatever they want? Because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
most people are okay with being complacent and average,
Yeah.
and I'm not. And I have really high standards, and I do the same thing with my team members, the same thing with the companies we work with, and the same thing the athletes. Like, it's the same process. It's the same thing, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. So on that note, I want to dig into a few things you've mentioned. One, about narrowing down schools, which I think would be counterintuitive to whether you're a parent of an athlete, or just somebody picking one of my viewers picking up the show. Like, people might say, well, why would you narrow down schools? Wouldn't if they got a stadium, they got a field, and they got a program, wouldn't you want to play there? So we'll dig into that. I love the accountability aspect. Let's also talk about, and I think I know your answer, but you'll tell us, how involved should mom and dad be in that outreach, or should it be the athlete? Maybe we'll start there.
yeah. So as far as the narrowing of the schools, I mean, always think sales, right? In
Hmm.
sales, you can't target 1,000 companies, right?
Yeah.
First of all, it's what are the schools that you're going to have the best opportunity to? So we split it up in 3 categories. We do 50% of your time at the schools you have the best chance of getting a scholarship, 30% at schools where it's going to be a little challenging, but you could get one, and then 20% of your time on, like, you just need one coach to believe in you, but it's going to be really, really hard, right?
Right.
So those are, we choose the schools. The reason we narrow it to 60 is, one, we want to make sure that you're going to get a scholarship right off the bat. If you have varsity game film, it's pretty solid, and you have at least a 3.0, you can get a college football scholarship. That's number one, hands down. You know, is it going to be Division One? Maybe, maybe not, right? But you can get one if you do the work and you have a varsity game film, like a legitimate varsity game film, and at least a 3.0 GPA. That's number one. Also, you need to reach out to every single coach to find the area coach of every single school, right? And once you found the area coach, then you're going to pitch those coaches. You're going to follow up with those coaches. You're going to follow ups alone, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, that takes a lot
Yep.
of time, right? And then, so not only are you going to follow up with these coaches, but you got to build relationships with them. I'm sorry, but you're not building relationships with 300 coaches when you're a junior and you only have 17 months. Like, it's just not realistic. It's not going to happen. If you could start when you're a freshman, yeah, we're going to expand your number of schools. Most people just start late in the process, junior year, sophomore year. And it's not reality. And anybody that's going to tell you, yeah, you're going to find the decision makers and build relationships with 300 different, zero chance. It's not going to happen. So we want to evaluate you as a player. We want to evaluate your film and come up with the 60 best opportunities that fit your requirements, your location that you're willing to go, your academics and the goals that you have, and then let's go attack those. Find the area coach, build relationships with those coaches, pitch those coaches, sell yourself. And that takes time. That takes sometimes in-person visits. That takes camp sometimes, but not always. That's why we narrow it down. And now we know the numbers. If you find 60 area coaches and you pitch them, we know it's going to lead to a certain number of video views. Of those views, it's going to lead to a certain number of visits and then a certain number of offers, right?
So
You
it's
should get
really
at
it's
least
a
30.
math equation, is what it comes
It,
down to.
it's math, and then it's getting really good at all the different skills that it takes to move coaches through the pipeline, right? And the habits that you need to form over time, right? It's the skill development and the habit formation with the accountability that leads to the most offers possible that I've found. Is there other ways? I'm sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just my way that's worked for me, and it's worked for a lot of the players that we worked with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. There's always tons of ways to succeed in life. Here's
Yeah.
your path, your
Yeah.
evidence of it. Today, in today's day and age, in the coaching world, which has a broad sense is what you do, there's a lot of people that don't have what's behind you. First of all, the diploma, the academic side, because let's face it, of all the kids who you said are going to get a D1 offer, it's now there's another couple zeros to the right side of that decimal point of kids that are going to go play pro football, right?
Right.
So the academics matter, and you touched on that about school selection. Like, where do you want to go geographic wise, but does this school support your academic endeavors? So there's that aspect of it. There's the aspect of the following up that you teach. And again, you've done this, you built those relationships. So I love that you have that background to really rely on. You touched on taking young men from when they began to where they I guess graduated, right? So they're off playing college
They
ball.
sign.
They sign. Is that
Yeah.
they sign? That's your terminology.
And we
right?
work with them once they sign too, because then it's portal, it's NIL, it's all that. But the first goal is like let's find the area coaches. The second goal is let's get coaches interested, and then the third goal is let's get offers, right? Like that's the ladder we take players through.
Yep.
One of the questions you had was like narrowing down the schools and then who should do the outreach, I think, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think I answered that question.
Yeah.
So it's a good question, and then I'll get to your last one. Who should reach out? Well, the question is, who's going to play? Is it the parent? Is it the handler? Is it the recruiting person? Is it some service? No, it's the freaking player, right? Coaches. I'm actually just making a YouTube video right now on the 7 secrets college coaches don't want you to know about earning a scholarship. And so one of them is that coaches specifically, they are not interested. Okay, so on my staff, my head football coach that manages our coaches with our players was Division I recruiting coordinator for the last 15 years. He built the whole recruiting department at Arkansas. Hell of a guy, hell of a coach. He was done with coaching and he came and works with me full time. And one of the things he says is like, on our big board, if we had to constantly deal with a parent or a handler, we just took them off. We were out. Now again, I'm discluding top ESPN 100 guys, right? Like, so if you're that, then don't listen to this podcast, honestly.
Yeah.
But you get it. Like, it's not just the talent. Like in today's, like, there's like Lane. I don't care how good you are. If you're not a character culture guy, he's not recruiting you. Like he's not. So, I mean, he's going to take in his top 1% of guys. Right. But but anyways, so, yeah. So, shoot, where was I going with that?
We were talking about who should be reaching out, the connection.
Oh yeah. Okay. So
student athlete playing, relationship building with coaches. Yep.
I get amped up and I keep bridging, but like, so at the end of the day, it's the coaches want initiative from the player. They want to know the player wants to be there. Mm-hmm. They want to know that, and they want to see how bad the player wants it. They want to see, they're always, the secret is they're always testing players. How do you overcome adversity? How do you overcome them not calling you back? How do you overcome them pushing you off? How do you handle situations, right? And they want to see how you do, right? And if the parent's driving the process, they don't get to see that, right? Yeah. And a parent is not going to pick up the phone and sell the player as well as the player is going to sell himself. And if the parent is going to sell the player better, you've got a problem, right? Your kid is not learning the skill sets that he's going to need to be able to excel the rest of his life. And as a parent, you're taking away the opportunity. Again, this is my opinion. Amen. A lot of parents are probably like, I hate this kid right now, but like, don't work with me then. But that's how feel about
Yeah.
the process. And that's like, it's the kid. He needs to
Yep.
learn how to sell himself. And so telling his story, selling himself. So what we do is we get on the phone, we role play with players. Like if a coach, if we teach him, get them to the point where they're scheduling calls with coaches, we're not going to just say good luck on the calls. There's a script, there's a process. We role
There's a
play
next
that
play.
with you. Yeah, there's a play. So we role play that, we practice it just like you practice in the field. They spend all my time in the weight room, all my time on the field, all my time. Okay, how much time did you spend on marketing and sales? An hour a week. Okay, well then you're not going to get a college football scholarship. It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
so anyways, it's up to the athlete. It's up to the player. Can a parent do it? Depends, right? Sure. Are you robbing the kid? My belief is you are.
Yeah.
But again,
Well,
that's my opinion.
I mean, listen, it's analogous to business, right? If this
Mhm.
is why the baker example that you said fails. This is, I often use, you turn wrenches and you swing hammers, right? That's my general statement. Like, and my oldest boy was a victim of this as he graduated career center in carpentry. This kid was so excited to land a job in the trade that he graduated high school with. The business had, it was a small business, a few crews, but they had no training, no SOPs, no way to elevate, a new breed of kids coming out of high school, coming out of carpentry class, right? It was just a bunch of old grizzly guys on construction sites cussing and yelling, and he just didn't respond that way. And at the end of the day, there was no, how do we advance this person? It was just, well, I, as the business owner, am just going to go do it. Right. There was no process. There was no playbook. There was no accountability. It just was, well, this isn't fast enough. Get out of the way. So now the player never learns. The kid never learns. My son never
Mhm.
learned. And he got worn out and he shifted gears and now he's doing hardscape work, which is fantastic. He loves it. It's fantastic. I think he found his calling. And, but you're right. You rob your people that you lead in business if you just step in the way and do it, and you rob your kid the opportunity to really grow and get further. So I love that you said it, and yeah, no, if you disagree with that, just turn the station. It's okay. you know,
Well, I don't want to piss your audience off, but like,
now it,
the people that like reach out to us and work with us, I mean, it's very clear. Like they believe in the same values. They
mhm.
believe like
Well, you're
it.
sending out a right marketing message
But
because
yeah,
they're
because I
attracting
don't
the
want.
right people.
Yeah, I want to. I'm interested in working with people that believe what I believe. I'm in a place in my career, like, you know, I I have the corporate consulting that it's an I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Like I
Yep.
don't need this. I do it
Right.
because I freaking love it.
Right.
And I think it's a bigger opportunity. It's a bigger opportunity to help more kids in an area right now where young men have zero confidence. They don't
Mhm.
believe in themselves. They are torn up on social media, um, but they have so much potential and opportunity inside of them that they don't know they have. And I went through that period, but I also had mentors in my life who helped me get through it, that helped me focus on my next play, and that has allowed me to be where I'm at today. And I wouldn't be here today without it. And so I do what I do today because I know what these kids are going through, but I also know what it feels like to be on the other side. And I
Yeah.
want that for them if they want it. Right. And
Yeah.
so the players that come to me and they want it, um, you know, all right, let's put a system in place for you. Let's give you the tools, and then we're gonna hold you accountable like crazy to build your confidence so you can get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's pause on that for a minute, because I think anybody watching would maybe think, well, wait a minute. You wait, you're telling me a kid that's got the potential to play college football, maybe be a D2, a D1 player, football inherently in our culture and in high school society, in that ecosystem, it's typically the upper echelon of popularity. You're in the popular kids club typically.
It's all fate.
You're telling me that these kids, like, I'm the voice of a listener or a watcher right now. They're saying to themselves, wait a minute, you're telling me these kids have problems? You're telling me these kids don't have confidence? So why what are you seeing and what do you attribute that lack of confidence
I'll
to?
give you, yeah, let me give you an example. This blew me away. Okay. So we got, a player reached out to us. We watched his film. We were like, whoa, like he's young, but this kid is going to be offered by every SEC
Wow.
program, every Division I program. Like he's the guy. He's going to be top 5 in the country this year. Like he's
Mhm.
that guy. Like you watch his film and it's not hidden, right? And
Right.
he's already got like a lot of traction and everything, but every SEC program is going to offer him. He's that guy. And so we have an interview process. I look for criteria: coachability, motivation, commitment, and grit. Those are the 4 criteria. You can't just come by my program because if I'm working with you one-on-one, like it's just, I'm one person, but I have a team, but like we're going to work with certain kids. And so the first question I asked him was like, why do you want to work with us? Right? Like you don't need us. You know what I mean? You don't. And so I just asked, and he said, I'm not confident in myself. I don't believe in
Mhm.
myself. And I'm like, first of all, he's going to every Division I visits already, right? And he's young. Um,
Yeah.
and it blew me away. And so I started talking through it with him, and amazing kid, great family, really great family. But he's looking at all these kids online. He's looking at what people are saying. Um, and he's like, I don't believe in myself. And, I think there's many young men out there in high school that feel the same way and that really struggle with that. And, so what's the effect of that? Right. So when you don't believe in yourself, what's the effect? So lack of outreach, lack of
Right.
posting, because I'm worried that I'm annoying coaches, or I'm gonna post and people aren't, I'm posting for likes and not
Right.
to get offers, right? Um, lack of reaching out to coaches, lack of following up with coaches because they're concerned that they're gonna make them mad, or that they're not
Well,
gonna
there's
do anything the right way, or
there's a lot of fear there, right? There's fear in hearing no. There's fear of rejection. There's fear of delay, nothing getting open, no responses. It's all of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, totally. So the effect of confidence is this downfall, and then all of that affects whether you're gonna, if you're not posting, if you're not doing outreach, if you're not DMing, if you're not doing all those things, then you're not gonna get the best opportunities possible, right? And then as a result of that, your whole life changes, right? Forever.
Right.
So, if we can teach him all of these skills now and help him develop this confidence now and get little wins to get the big result now, then they're going to have it for the rest of their life. Like, I don't get on a stage at IBM in front of thousands of people if I didn't go through what I went through to get to the result that I eventually got to, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, um,
I
yeah,
love. Yeah, I love that part of gaining confidence, gaining ability to communicate, gaining ability to lead, the focus on young men and filling that void that exists.
it's not just
It's
young men; it's like the whole population.
right,
Because
right,
if you're on social media,
right. But I like that that's part of you. I like that that's in focus for your company. And it's
hundred
not and
percent.
it's not just about the business, it's not just about the results. So you can say, hey, at this past year's conference, we had this many kids signed in attendance, and next year it's going to double, and next year it's going to double. Like, all that's great. The reality is a small percentage of all those kids are going to go on to play pro football. They're going to go on to be in business, going to go on to be leaders in their community. They're going to go on to be coaches that impacted you, quite possibly. And that spreading effect and that network effect of what you're doing through your business can be so profound. And that's the thing that gets me amped up. That's those are the stories I love to tell here on the show. So kudos to you. And you made a big hire recently too. I mean, you're not just talking about this. You made a big hire within Next Play. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we hired a COO, so that was a new endeavor for me. I have team members on my team right now. We have in operations, in sales, and in marketing. He's not on here yet. He just started
He's
yesterday.
so new, didn't get that.
Uh, yeah, I always like to give it a couple weeks before I like go big with it, but Yeah, I mean, the vision I have for this company is we're gonna build, I get inquiries every day. Do you do wrestling? Do you do girls volleyball is a big one, man. Holy
My
sheesh.
business partner, his daughter is going to be a 10th grader this year, and is actually, I think, at tryouts probably right now for girls volleyball.
Yeah, it's girls volleyball. It's, we get so many inquiries about other sports, and I say, nope, 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 not interested, not gonna work with you. Sorry. And the reason being is because it's not fair to the football players, right? And I don't want to, like, my motto in life is focus, right? It's next play, it's your focus. And right now our play is to build football and to help
Mhm.
as many high school football players do it the right way. And we do that by holding them accountable one-on-one, and like you said, I'm not just like blowing it out of proportion without hiring the right people, because without great fulfillment, like nothing matters, right? Like at this conference was huge. We had a parent panel, and the parents of all our current, not all, but current clients up there sharing. And I was in tears. Everyone was in tears. It was great. It was such an amazing, I had the reward, the 1% club award that gave to the players that got scholarships. And like, it, to me, like I get crazy anxiety and stress thinking about someone not being happy with something. And so I built my company around making sure that every player is highly taken care of and that is doing the things to get the result, right? Is
Yep.
doing the activities to get the result. It's not about the result. It's about it's about the activities and doing those activities and getting great at those activities and becoming the person you need to be to get that result. Like, right. So next play is always activity. It's not a result. So that's how I built the company. And like I could open this up to all athletes like
Sure.
this, right? But it wouldn't be fair to the football players that are on the calls. It wouldn't be fair. Like we'd be all over the place. So the way I'm building out the entire company is like we have a marketing department, a sales department, and our operations. And our operations has one main head football coach, coaches that reside under him. And then once we get that to a certain point, we will then open up another sport, and but we hire from the top. So I hired Brian Overton, who you saw on there, who's built recruiting departments at 4 Division I football programs,
Wow.
bigger, small. He's been a part of Division II. He's been a high school head coach. Like he knows recruiting
Yeah.
tenfold. He knows our system and loves this system. He's like, this is what I wanted players to do when they reach. So he just was such a great fit. And once football is completely built out, we'll find a Brian Overton for baseball. We'll find
Yeah.
that who that's going to be for girls volleyball. And that's how we're going to build
Very smart.
out the company, because it's fair to the parents, it's fair to the players, and to me, it's the right way where I could sleep at night knowing that every single person that's a part of next play is highly held accountable, is getting help determining the best next play, and is being held accountable to it.
Yeah, I love that. I one of the hats I wear, I co-own a retail mattress store. That's one of my. I have a few ventures. That's one of them, and that's all we do is mattresses. I don't really do headboards. I don't do furniture. We focus solely on life enhancement through better sleep and mobility. That's what we do, and um, we have so many people come to us and say, you need to put this on your floor. You need to sell that. You should target this customer.
Right.
Nope. Like you. Nope. No, thank you. We are very dialed in. Like you said, you are afraid, and it's kudos to you for sharing that, leading from the front, because your boys, your athletes hear that too, and they got that fear of reaching out. Like, wait, Coach Richie's afraid. All right, so it's okay. So he works through it. Something we can work through.
Yeah.
I'm so fanatical about our 5-star experience. I know the recipe for success. I'm not going to let these other things in on the periphery that can knock us down a star, make us get a 1-star review, have an unhappy customer. Just not going to do it. I know where those pitfalls are, so we're not going to go run over them voluntarily. We're going to stay
Yeah.
in our lane.
And it starts with you, right? It starts with me
Mhm.
at the top. Like, as a visionary, I've got a COO and integrator, and then we have people that lead each department. And like,
Yep.
I'm not going to, like, that mentality has to trickle down through the business. When you have, like, in any pro football team, if you have a bad owner and a bad GM, like Colin the Herd, if you ever watch the Herd, like his big
Mhm.
thing is GM, owner, and head coach. And I believe that same in business. Like you have the, visionary or CEO or founder, whatever you want to call it, integrator, COO, whatever you want to call that. And then you have your heads.
Yep.
And that mentality has to trickle down. Next play, accountability, right? Everything goes back to the client experience. These are all things that as a business owner and as a salesperson, because you're a business owner, if you're in sales, if you're an athlete, you're a business owner, right? It's the same thing. Like it's your business. What are and that, like, anyways, we have core values. I'm not going to get into all that up with this, but like if there's problems in the business, especially on the product, that comes from the top, right? And the mentality through the entire business, in my opinion, and from my experience, which I don't have the experience running a, IBM or a 9-figure company, not there yet, but this is from my experience.
Yeah. No, spot on. I agree with you 100%. And, we speak the same language down to visionary and integrator and core values. I have my personal core values are on my personal contact site, and I look at them every morning. It's just kind of how I start my day. And so like we're speaking the same language. I love it. We've got about 10 minutes left. I want to wrap up with the last couple of years of your college career and what those experiences are like. I think we've seen on screen, I believe it looks like it was you with your mother on the field at Ole Miss. Looked like it was for some maybe parent appreciation event or recognition night. But talk through, you said your senior year, you played every game, got to run out of that tunnel, electric energy. So you walk on, you annoyed the defensive line to senior year. Walk through the steps in between.
Yeah, I'll make a long story short. I mean, essentially, so my first year, it was like built this reputation, hard-nosed hitter, guy, dirtiest uniform on the field, what have you. And then at the end of the year, Coach Orgeron got fired and came back for my second year. And we had this team meeting, walked in the team meeting. There's a coach that I never met before. And I walk up to him and he says, "What's your name?" And looks at his clipboard, looks down at me, and my name wasn't even on the list. So I wasn't even on the team anymore. So I had to do exactly what I did the first year all over again. And for those 3 years, I mean, it was all about, the goal was to get on the travel squad. Like that was the main goal. Once you get on the travel squad, then you could build yourself up from there. So, over those 3 years, it was like, what can I do to find a spot? What can I do to get on that travel squad? So, work through it. Finally, like a spot opened up on special teams right before my senior year. So for 3 years, right, like every Thursday after practice, they posted the travel squad list. My name wasn't on it. And a spot opened up on special teams. Now, it's not the most glamorous spot. It's not the most exciting spot, but it got me on the travel squad. And that was as the field goal holder. So worked through that like all the summer before, or it was actually through my junior year. I was like, just worked with the kicker. He was my roommate, goes back to relationships. And so did that. And then all through summer, and then going into camp, I ended up earning the spot. And then going into camp, the goal was to move. You had to be in the top 6 receivers to play. So because I was on the travel squad, I was now taken serious in the receivers room. So I think I started at like 9 or 10 when camp started. And then as camp went on, I moved my way to 9, and then I moved my way to 8, and then I moved my way to 7. And then right before the final scrimmage, I walked into the receivers room for the meeting before it, and I was number 6. And I was like, okay, this is it. Like I'm in the top 6. So I thought going into the scrimmage, like this was it. This is I had to prove myself. Like I was still a walk on, right? But I was, starting on special teams. I was in the top 6, and I still have that picture. I showed in my keynotes, but I don't have it here. But anyways, of the depth chart.
Yeah.
But anyways, so going into that scrimmage, I was like, this is the one. This is it, basically. So went through the tunnel. And I just remember like there's a bright blue sky. There's fans in the stands. I could smell the grass. And as I'm warming up, I got a tap on my shoulder. And when I turned around, it was the head coach. And when I looked at him, all I could think about was like my 5th grade teacher that was like, "Oh, you'd never be worth anything." And All my friends that saying, oh, moving to Mississippi was a waste of time. And, I looked at him and he said to me, like, literally, Richie, you've given me no choice. I'm going to put you on a full ride scholarship. He's like, congratulations. And I was just like, wow, like this was everything that I've been working for the last 14 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was an amazing experience. And then I shared it with, obviously I ran to the locker room after the scrimmage, got dressed, told my mom, told my dad. And, it was just an awesome accomplishment. I share this with everyone that I can. When I tried out that tryout that I didn't even make the team, there were 23 guys. When I got put on scholarship, I was the only one left. Right. And so, that says something. And that's why I'm such a believer in next play. And it's that ability to keep moving forward. Because over those 3 years, like, man, the Oklahoma drills, and Coach Nutt speaks to this. Like, I had him on my podcast and he's like, he kept every day he would call me out and I would just get crushed. And he didn't stop.
Yeah.
And it was because of next play that I ended up getting the result I wanted. In my senior year, I got to start in all 12 games. I had, I didn't have 1,200 yards and 100 catches, but I got a couple catches in SEC games in front of 100,000 people at Tennessee and at Arkansas. And for someone that doesn't look like everyone else and 5'7", 155, like, I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people always talk trash online, like, oh, you only had a couple catches, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, how many catches
You're commenting
did you
from
have
your couch
in SEC games at 5'7" on a full ride scholarship?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So anyways,
Well,
like,
just as you're sharing that, I mean, what a powerful story. Because I thought the story went, you walked on, you earned the respect of the team and the organization, and you just kind of worked your way up. And man, you kept just getting knocked down and had to climb back up, knock down, climb back up, knock down one more time, climb back up, make that sixth spot. And then, you started in your position. You didn't just accept a placeholder, right? You started in your position and got to play. Just incredible story of perseverance, fortitude, focus, and accountability. Man, love everything that you're doing at Next Play. We've had your Next Play details up on the screen, but just maybe for people picking this up on audio, shout out where to go. You have a book that you'll give to people if they just cover the shipping costs, which is very generous. So let's make sure we shout that out too.
I think that's how we met, right? So yeah, I mean, go nextplay.com. You can send me a DM on Instagram as well. At Richie there you go. At Richie Contartesi. Or if you want the book, I think it's book.richiecontartesi.com or offer.richiecontartesi.com/book.
Yeah.
And you can grab we need to make that URL better. We talked about how he's
no pun intended, a little shorter
in the office right now. But yeah, I was just telling him we'll make it shorter. But anyways,
well, we'll get it up in the comments and with the show notes. We'll get it up there. So yeah, love it. And then website nextplay.com, is that right?
Go nextplay.com.
Go nextplay.com.
Oh yeah, I'm still working on getting that domain. It's multiple six figures to buy it. So we'll get there.
You'll get there. I have no doubt you'll get there.
Yeah.
The perseverance of it. And who knows, you might just wake up one day, like back in the day, checking that list as you moved up from 10, 9, 8. You might go into GoDaddy and see, oh, it's available. And you just buy it because somebody didn't have the focus. They didn't have the perseverance or the accountability in place, and they just let it go. And that's how you'll probably get it.
There you go. I hope that's the case.
That's right. Richie, man, it's been such a joy to talk to you. Thank you. This was a special one for me because of the connection to football. Thanks for pouring into my audience. And we were able to connect it across field, across play, across parents, across students, across business. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Everyone else, great episode. Go out there. Like Richie said, what, when, and why. What's next? What's that next play? Keep your focus. What, how, when. I'm sorry. See, that's why you're the coach and I'm not. I'm just the guy
Yeah.
hosting you. Yeah. What, how, and when, right? So keep that next play in mind. Keep that focus in mind, perseverance. Go out there, live your big ticket life this week. Take care.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Football Scholarship Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And for more free resources, or if you're interested in working with us, visit gonextplay.com. Until next time.